Good evening. Once again, we are coming together for a State of the Church and the opportunity to just kind of let you know what's happening here at St. Paul Lutheran Church and School. It's a trying time, but it's an exciting time. And we're all really busy, just as I know each of you are in your homes as well. Just a lot of different things going on in life. And so I'm sitting here with Mr. Boyd, who's our principal here at the school, and he's going to kind of kick this off this evening. And then I'm going to talk really briefly about where we're sitting financially. But again, welcome. And Mr. Boyd, what is happening in the school?
Well, a lot of things are happening. We are blessed to be already almost halfway through the second term of the school year, which is really hard to imagine. And we started 2 weeks late. But God continues to do his work here at St. Paul, being good to us in the face of challenges. And we've had challenges amongst staff members and also amongst students and their families with illness and job issues and even deaths in families. But relying on God's grace has been huge for us. Our theme is being anchored, and boy, that's been so helpful. And this term, we're really talking about being anchored in truth and looking at the truth of the scriptures and how that provides us with a safe, secure place, because we know God's word is true. And so that message of grace is just present in everything we're doing every day with kids, and it's a great message to be able to share. It's kind of cool that we got to participate in that Red Letter Challenge, Pastor. We did that with many of our students in school and really got across those ideas of 5 things we can do to model being like Christ. We were super excited to be part of that as a school. You mentioned it being kind of trying times, and the COVID-19 stuff sure does overshadow school a lot. I just want to let you know at this point in time, we're down to 9 kids out of 450 that are distance learners. So we're continuing to work with those children, and then we occasionally have people who have to go on quarantine. They've been exposed somewhere else, but we're so blessed that we haven't had a student case since school started, not one. So that's exciting. What that ultimately means is we're not going to change horses in midstream. We're going to continue with our policies and procedures we've been using up to now. And research is saying schools that have kids wear masks, schools that try to social distance, are just generally safer from the virus. A couple other things I want to mention, some really good news things. Our band program has always been strong here. We had 3 8th graders try out for All-State Band, and 2 of them were selected. And I got to say, the one that didn't get selected should have been selected because she's amazing. But 2 students, Alan Roten and Tyler Tan, are part of All-State Band. And it's unusual for a large school to have a student selected. To have 2 from a school our size is really awesome. And then even probably more amazing news is we had our girls varsity volleyball team won the state Lutheran tournament. And there have always been some schools that were substantially bigger than us, schools that had very, very strong athletic programs that have always kind of been our, Achilles heel, I guess. And we were able to beat those teams pretty soundly this year and just put together a perfect season, actually. They didn't lose any matches. So congratulations to those kids.
What a wonderful opportunity for those 8th graders to go out celebrating this incredible win.
Yeah. Right. It was really good. And probably equally amazing was that they beat the faculty in a student-faculty game. So, they're actually really good. Those kids are really, really good. One of the great things St. Paul's always been able to do is have the school lead the Advent services to get us ready for the celebration of Christmas, to anticipate God's great gift of Jesus Christ. And those have always been Wednesday evening events, and this year we're going to have to do those virtually. So they even started recording today some of the Advent service. But the good news is for congregational members, if they didn't normally find themselves available on Wednesday evening, they'll now be able to access those and watch those services and get their hearts ready for the celebration of Christ's birth. There are going to be a couple live events on campus. One will be our kindergarten Thanksgiving program, which will only be open to parents. And then also our winter music concert, which again will only be open to parents. And that's just the COVID thing, the social distancing and all that we have to do. You mentioned finances, and I could lead in with that. We've done well financially as a school for the last 7-8 years. With the drop in enrollment this year, looked like we were going to have to dig into some reserves we built up. The good news, Pastor, is we're up 17 students from the start of the year in terms of enrollment, mostly in our early childhood program and pre-K. But we are continuing to interview families, and there's actually some families that I'm having to put people on waiting lists because we're out of space. And that means financially, it looks like we're kind of holding our own, like we're going to be all right. Is that kind of what you're finding in the church as a whole, too, then?
You know, in the church, yes. When I look outside at other churches and other schools, it just seems to be, from what I'm hearing back from pastors and even districts, is some schools are really struggling and have closed during COVID.
Yeah.
And other ones are holding their own. And so I feel very blessed that we're holding our own. I think we need to remember as we come into Thanksgiving to count those blessings.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. And each one of those kids that's given into our care is very special and unique. So we're happy to have all 450 of them this year. Speaking of our enrollment, we always do a little demographic study every year. And one of the things we look at is ethnicity. And it's a little sad that we're not quite as diverse ethnically as we've been in the last several years. And that's always a frustrating thing and a hard thing to change. But right now, people of Latin heritage are our largest minority group in our student population, and that's reflected in our staff and faculty as well. But what really is interesting is that you get these 450 kids, and there are 61 different churches represented in that student body, and just a wide range, everything from Orthodox all the way through Assemblies of God and other Pentecostal groups and all along in between. But you know, St. Paul's number one in terms of the most kids. Do you know what's number two? The nuns.
The nuns. So are we still kind of holding that pattern of like about a third,
Yeah,
or is it a little heavier on the nuns?
Yeah, it's not a little heavier on the nuns.
N-O-N-E-S.
Yes, N-O-N-E-S. Yeah, we have some Catholic kids, but not N-U-N-S. We have about a little over a quarter of our students who don't profess a particular church denomination or church that they attend on a regular basis. And when I talk to some of those families, they'll say churches in our home or some other things. But we keep looking at this as a great mission opportunity. So we're probably more in the range of 30% member kids, probably about 25% nuns, and then the rest, those 60 other churches. So it's a pretty cool setup. And we've always looked at our role as being part discipleship training of those who already have faith in Christ and part mission work. We're sharing the gospel of Jesus every day in our classrooms. And kids and families that haven't known him will hear about him every day.
Yeah. You and I have talked, how do we connect with those kids and their families that aren't churched? And we keep trying some new and some different things. One of the things that you brought to my attention was we've had some of those kids that have had a significant loss of a parent in the family, and some are church and some are not. But we've reached out to those kids and contacted them and offered to say, hey, how about we get your kids together and have an opportunity to just sit them down and let them know they're not alone in the school with the loss of a parent.
Yes.
And so they can look around and kind of go, there's other kids that have experienced what I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling. I'm not alone. And that has actually been really positive. I've gotten the feedback from, and also it's led a couple openings for some parents to be able to come in and for either their kids or for us use the counseling service that we're providing now through the church. Another, of course, our biggest ministry is the church mission, but then we have the counseling, and that just adds a little bit to it. Plus all these other side ministries that we have kind of been bringing around.
Right.
But still, our greatest impact really is the school and the opportunity to just connect with the families and the kids and just share Jesus' love with them.
Right. As you said that, I was just thinking about some families who've come to me who are basically school families, don't have a connection to the church or didn't, who've come to me and said, St. Paul as a church has been awesome in the midst of tragedy. And even a family who lost a loved one on our campus a few weeks ago, just a medical situation, spoke to me about how the church had ministered to them as a family, even though their only connection initially had been the school. But I think that's what both you and I and both our staffs envision is a partnership in sharing the gospel with families.
We're part of the body of Christ, and not every piece, as Paul tells us, is a hand or an eye or an ear, or mouth, but we're all coming together, and God is using this incredible opportunity that He has blessed us in the midst of a mission field to be able to just serve and be the hands and feet of Jesus. So I'm so honored to be a part of this ministry, and I know you feel the same way, Bob.
I do too. Yep.
And it's just a wonderful opportunity for us to just encourage you as the congregation to continue your support and your prayers and your love, not just for the parents and the kids, that's really important too, but for all the teachers and all the staff that, we're at about 80 roughly for staff. I think it's a little less than that now. I can't remember.
Around 61, I think, is what I heard. Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember the number. It used to be about 88.
Yeah.
It's down to about 61, and there's some reasons for that.
Sure.
But it's a beautiful thing to be able to just walk together and see what God is doing as we move through life, especially in a time like this.
And as congregational members, I'd encourage them to think about these teachers that are in ministry every day with kids. And if you would pray for them, if you would, even if you see them, if you give them a word of encouragement, it just means a huge amount. I know that they have been featured in reading Scripture, both teachers who are members here at St. Paul and those who aren't. And you've gotten a chance over the course of the weeks to see many of our teachers
and
on
kids.
The screen, and students as well. But if you just have a chance to pray for them and to encourage them, that would be extremely meaningful.
Bob, do you have anything else?
I have my notes, as I always do, and I think I've gotten through everything.
Right. So let me just kind of talk really briefly about finances. Normally we'd have Tracy here, but the last State of the Church that we had, things really have not changed that much. It's been challenging, and the staff, the whole staff, church and school side, have done an incredible job of really trying to watch expenses. And so between watching our expenses and having the opportunity also to be blessed by how God has motivated your heart in giving, we're holding our own, okay? We're not going, fiercely into debt. We're not having to tap into any reserves or anything like that. And so, that's just showing, again, the generosity and also how God works through each and every one of you. Now, as we have some more students coming in, I guess, after this next term ends here, after the Christmas break, Tracy's going to go back and she's going to tweak the budget to where we are sitting right now. So next time we have a State of a Church, we're going to have a financial update for you. But I want to encourage you to keep thinking about, what God desires and how He invites you into the ministry to give. It's that ripple effect that you're going to read about in a newsletter that is coming out for the holidays, and how God uses that ripple effect through the Bible, as I share a story with you, but also some stories here in this time that we'll be recording, and stories that I share with you in that opportunity to read the newsletter for the holidays. So if you do have any financial questions, look, we're always here to answer whatever you might have as a question. We had the opportunity to pay, I believe it was $58,000 on our debt. And so that's just been making our payments, and we continue to whittle that last debt down that we have over there. That's mainly on the gym.
All
Tracy,
on the gym,
all on the gym. Yeah. Tracy wanted me to mention that, and so we celebrate that, the reduction of that debt that continues to come in, and you'll see some more figures in the newsletter that is coming out here, probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So really, that's it for this section. Please stay tuned as we move into the opportunity to talk to other staff members for the State of the Church. God bless.
Thank you.
Hey, we're back for another piece of the State of the Church, and I'm sitting here with Nick Moss, and he is our DCE here at the church. Does a lot of things. That's Director of Christian Education, but it's a lot bigger title than that. One of the things I'm wondering about, because last time I sat in here to do one of these, there was no white lighted thingy bobs behind me. What's going on back here?
We just spent a whole day taping Advent services, so we're doing a lot more digitally. And so we've got a new wall. These are our little props. We just had about 250 elementary kid students, 200 plus kids come through today.
Talking about herding cats.
That's right. Teachers do an awesome job.
Yes,
but they
do.
came in groups of 3 because we keep them all spread out. So those are all going to be aired live on Wednesday night Advent. So we're excited to share that. But we're trying to do our best to still have our regular programming that we've done in the past and let church members see our school and our kids, but not being able to gather together that many people in the sanctuary. So
yeah, because that's always a huge service.
We pack
all
that.
3 of those.
We pack 'em out.
Midweek Advents. I mean, they're all packed. It doesn't matter what grade level it is. They're all
We couldn't
beyond
do it.
full what we could handle,
we couldn't do it right now.
which is why we had to go to online. So, I know it's different. I know it's not the same, but hey, you'll be able to look back at this, and the parents will be able to look back at it, and the kids will be able to let it go. I remember that.
Yep.
So this will pass one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
All right, so that stuff's going to be done and ready to go, and eventually our virus will be past us. Nick, what is happening with you and your ministry area that you continue to just
Sure.
drive
Yeah.
away at?
So things continue to change, just like everything. We've moved back our one thing is our high school beach retreat. We've moved that 2 or 3 times, and we just moved it again. We're going to try to do it in the spring versus in January, and we just be flexible with that. But we're pretty confident that we're going to continue to plan ahead with hopefully that summer we're really kind of back to normal, knowing that anything is possible. So gathering together people to talk about what does VBS look like, and getting some plans together for that. Starting to work. We've got dates set for our high school mission trip to Atlanta, Georgia in the middle of July. Working on a middle school CERN event, things like that. So right now is usually the time where I start gathering people together. We start planning for summer stuff. So we've already started that process, always knowing though that COVID sits out there kind of lurking, and putting in some plan B, C's and D's and working through that. So that's one thing. Right now we've got high school ministries going on Wednesday night, and that's been going through COVID, and we do social distancing, and that has continued to work well, and do small groups, the Red Letter Challenge, where we had some great student leaders that had small groups. Middle school youth, we're still kind of splitting up and keeping them distant. 7th and 8th grade is separate from 6th grade. So we were hoping January, but I think it might be later. We put them all together. So it's those types of things where we're still trying to do what we've been doing, but planning for a time where we can go back to a lot more normal stuff.
I think one of the things that you glossed over that's important to celebrate, just in my mind, is since I have been here, I think probably pretty close, with exception when we do the National Youth Gathering. You've got like about the most kids in high school ever coming together.
Yeah, we do.
In the last 4 years that I've been here, like I said, with the exception of National Youth Gathering, which is always a big draw.
So, God, with COVID and stuff, you just shake your head. So why in the world during COVID do we have more high school students?
That's great.
I think
Thank
part
the
of
Lord.
it, yeah, praise God. I think part of it is we went to a Wednesday night weekly meeting, which doesn't work for some, but it evidently works for a lot. And we have some key leaders that are, we had one of our adult leaders show back up again, and she brought her daughter, and her daughter brought 3 or 4 friends. So it's getting those core families involved, which has been huge. So it's really exciting to see that. It's, you just scratch your head sometimes, but we're thankful for that. The other thing is we're starting children's church. We started children's church back. One of the things that we're going to be implementing 2021 is a check-in system where parents will come in and they'll have a little iPad and they'll be able to print a little sticker out for the kid. That's just going to help us know who's supposed to be out for children's church, let people know kids' names, because if we have a volunteer in there and you got 10 kids, it's nice to be able to call them by their name. and it hopefully will also be just another way to protect our kids. So
there's no roaming the halls.
There's no roaming the halls. Right. So that's one thing that we're looking at implementing, which is exciting, and just continuing to do what kind of pops up. And I think the Red Letter Challenge was a great success. And once we get through Christmas, I think we'll start to have conversations about, okay, kind of what's the next in that, and working with the small groups that were formed through that, and kind of where are they going. And so I'm excited to see about that.
Yeah. Well, anything else that you've got going on in ministry?
I think the big thing for people listening is one of the things that we're going to be working on, continue to work on, 7 healthy practices of youth ministry. And it came out through our church body, through many surveys, and there's a little booklet on it if anybody wants to dive in deeper. But one of the main things I would point out that it's to have healthy young people, we're talking spiritually healthy young people, is that there's got to be people in the church that know them. So it's not just the paid staff like you or me that know their name and know a little bit about them. And so for me, one of my goals is to continue to develop leaders. Volunteers that are going to rise up and that are going to invest in kids' lives and get to know them by name and encourage them in their faith. That's what I want for my kids. I know that's what you want for your kids. And so that's something I'm excited to continue to work on. We've done it before. We're just going to continue to put more work into it.
Yeah. All right. Well, if that's it, we're going to wrap this up and go on to the next person.
Sounds
Whether
great.
The trees will be behind me next time or not, we'll see.
All right.
But just God's blessings as you continue to have the opportunity to, just connect with families and kids, and the opportunity to just pour Jesus over those relationships.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we get to have the opportunity to do when we have the State of the Church is introduce new people to you that are now working amongst us. And so the great, the wonderful, the awe-inspiring camera, videographer, editor, and everything else that needs done, Alexa has joined us. We are really glad to have her on staff now. Alexa, I'd like you to kind of just say a little bit about yourself. Where do you come from? What's your background? What are you kind of doing here at this time? Okay.
Yeah. So my name's Alexa Corbean. Some of you guys have already probably seen me around the office some, or I probably introduced myself. I did come a Sunday and I saw some of you guys hanging around. I am from North Carolina originally. I'm from the Greensboro area. It's in between like Raleigh and Charlotte. It's like the 3rd largest city in North Carolina, but no one really knows any cities in North Carolina, so there's that. I went to a university there. It's called University of North Carolina at Greensboro. I majored in film studies, and my focus was in film and TV. At St. Paul, my position's like media administrator, kind of help with administration stuff and also all the tech stuff. So all the videos that you now see, most of the time I'm probably in charge of it or behind the camera or have some type of aspect of it, editing wise or whatever. So yeah, I've been helping out Miss Becky some, trying to go through Miss Janet's side of stuff and try to figure out who's going to do what, because Miss Janet had a huge position here.
Yes, she
did so much. So it kind of takes 2 people to kind of split up all of her duties. So
yeah, she's a great blessing here, but you're a great blessing as well, and we're glad to have you here on staff. And so if you get the opportunity, pop in the office, say hello to her, introduce yourself. You're going to see a lot of her, and you're going to even see more of the work that she does behind the camera and behind the computer as we continue to go forward and expand our digital footprint and have the opportunity to connect people to Jesus through the wonderful technology that we have been given. God bless. All right, we're here with Kelly, our early childhood director, and just all in staff person who is expecting.
Yes,
Yes, Kelly, when are you due?
January 10th.
January 10th. And so we've been celebrating with you through the whole time. Once you let us know that, hey, we've got another little one on the way.
Yep.
And so that's great. And, here you are in early childhood. You're going to have another one of your kids go through the early childhood program,
Yes.
that you actually are the director over. So tell us kind of what's going on and what you're excited about seeing and what's happening in your area of ministry.
Yeah. So our area of ministry, it's been open. We've never shut down. So that's one of the things I'm very excited about and been very happy with. I mean, we've stayed open for families who have needed us since March, and we've just steadily run through. So that's been a blessing to a lot of families. We continue to have enrollment coming through, which is different than most years. Typically, by this point,
Going up, you mean?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. But typically at this point, when we start in August, we're usually pretty full, at our capacity. So we can add a student here and there. But this year, we've just had a lot of families who have kind of just been more cautious in joining and watching, just the trend of numbers and COVID and how things are operating. We've not had to shut any of our classrooms down. So that's a very big benefit and a positive. However, we are prepared and thinking that could be a possibility, so we're making plans and adjustments all along the way. We're steadily keeping up with local regulations and state regulations and just trying to keep everyone as safe as possible while serving families that we can serve. But like I said, we have, some availability in a few of our classrooms, specifically our 2-year-old rooms and our 4-year-old rooms have some openings. But we're maxed out in our 15-month-old rooms and our 3-year-old rooms. So
That's awesome news.
yeah, it is.
I see the teachers, in their classrooms, they have these big buckets, white buckets with little cuts in the top that we do our own handy wipes
Yes.
because you can't hardly even buy those. But
It's hard to
I
find.
know they go through a lot of those, making sure that all the toys and all the areas of that classroom for each of those different levels of
Right.
kids are just really clean.
Well,
So-
and we've always followed a pretty stringent, cleaning guide and cleaning calendar. But of course, just with the COVID concerns and stuff, we've added that extra layer. So, yeah, but, it's just, I feel like we've always had a very clean facility. I've always kept up with making sure, but it's just that extra precaution that we're trying to add.
Yeah, we have the opportunity to, as kind of staff people, we get to have the opportunity to just interact with those people that are working hand to hand with not just the kids but the parents.
Right.
And those are some really wonderful relationships that have gotten developed, isn't it?
Yes, I would say, I think that's one of the big benefits of being here at St. Paul is that the teachers really understand the importance of developing those strong relationships with the families that they're serving. So not only just, working with the students and getting to know each student individually, but also they work hard to know the families and the parents, and to just have that relationship because that is really, really probably one of the most key foundations of education, is establishing open communication with mom and dad, and even sometimes we see grandparents dropping off and stuff, so in order to best serve the child, which is our ultimate goal, we have to all work together.
It's been really interesting to me because I do all the new member stuff at this time, just to see some of the parents that come forward. Recently, I had the joy to be able to do, excuse me, a wedding for a couple, and their child is here in the school, and they became members then of the church, and just to see that growth in their faith life, and how the school was the first connection point,
Yeah.
and from there, God used that to just bring them deeper into a relationship with each other, and in a deeper relationship with their child, as well as in a deeper relationship with the Lord. So yeah, I mean I agree with you. It's just a huge bonus, a huge gift that we have been given here with the early childhood program. And many of those kids, I don't know if you know the numbers or not. I know I don't, but many of those kids, they go forward into, the kindergarten, the elementary, and through middle school, don't they?
Oh yeah. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head either, but I know, this year looking at our kindergarten enrollments, I would say most of those children who are enrolled currently in kindergarten were part of our ECEC preschool program. So yes, they do. They continue on. And, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
And it's not just simply, is it, a come in and play time. You actually have some, I don't know if the word is correct, curriculum or not, but, there's some teaching that goes on at the different levels.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
To help the kids progress
Absolutely.
developmentally.
Yes, we do have
It's
curriculum.
not just a
that's
babysitting
used.
service.
Oh, no. No, and we do have curriculums that we use. However, one of the big things that I have always admired, and even prior to me becoming director of the early childhood, is the recognition that we know here about the importance of play. So yes, the kids are purposefully playing is what I like to say, so they're having opportunities to play all the time, and through that they're learning so much. But yes, we do have curriculum. We have daily schedules that are also super important for children to learn how to not only adapt to routine but know what to expect and feel comfortable in their environment, which then allows them to thrive. So yeah.
So much goes into that is beyond me, but that's why we have people like you on our staff that have been trained, and you finished up your doctorate. Oh, and that's the other thing I forgot to mention. You're actually working on becoming colloquied. And for those that don't know what that means, one of our teachers that goes through a colloquy process then becomes a licensed called teacher, or in this case, a director in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, because you'd received your training from outside. I can't remember where you went to school, but
Right.
You went through all your schooling, you got your doctorate. Now you're going back and you're getting your colloquy. I was really excited to see that. So,
Thank you. Yep, just
again,
finished
that'll
my
be a
first
blessing.
course.
All right, yay! What was it?
Old Testament.
Old Testament.
Yep.
So they make you do a New Testament, a doctrine.
Yep, New
class.
Testament next month, December
Okay.
1st. So, yep,
All right.
one down.
One down.
How many? 7 to go.
7 to go. All right. Anything else you want to share with us today, Kelly?
I don't think so. I mean, we just really feel blessed. Anytime anyone ever utilizes our services, it's always a blessing, and I do think my teachers and staff recognize the amount of trust, that families are putting into us. So we've been very fortunate, like I said, to have some wonderful families join us along the way. And I feel like we have the best staff around, so our teachers truly care, and they're trained in what they do. So it's a great ministry, and I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. So if you see Kelly around, see her husband Joey, or the kids running around sometime on a Sunday morning, or even during the week, just make sure you say hello and thank them for their work, because they really do this as a husband and wife and its kids. It's a family thing and it's a team thing, even at this level. So God bless, and we'll see who we have next.
Thank you.
All right, we're back with Ken Sherman, our director of music, and having the opportunity to just talk with him and see what's going on in your area of ministry.
Yeah, so we've had a lot going on in the area of ministry with the music and with the tech, and there's a couple things to celebrate there. So over the last couple months, you've noticed just a continuation of new musicians within the services. We've really been hitting that hard within our leadership with Crystal and Elsie and Daniel and a few others, trying to pull in some of these instruments. And so Reformation Day, we had a brass section that was pretty good sized, and we had a couple out of the church people we brought in to help, but most of that was our folks praising God with their talents. And so we're building on that, and we've got a couple Sundays here coming up in December with Advent season, where we are going to use those to sing along with the congregation. And so I'm looking forward to the continuation of that work. So that's a big piece to celebrate. Another thing that we've been working on is just kind of fine-tuning all of the work that we put in over this year of going digital and streaming our services. And so the production team, the tech team continues to do a great job each and every Sunday of taking on the challenges that we ask of them and stuff like that. And as we fine-tuned it and we're looking toward long-term sustainability, we got to get some more hands in the work. So
that means if you're listening and you want to learn or
That's right.
know about how to do that stuff, we could really use you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And we're trying to strategically plan to the long-term future. And so with our chapel services, as schools kicked off over this last quarter, we've gotten our chapel services to be run, the tech team, by the kids themselves. So we've been training a few kids, and I think it was 2 weeks ago. It wasn't last week. 2 weeks ago, we had every position as far as the people facilitating the stream was run by the hands-on stuff was all student-led. So that was really pretty cool milestone for them to see themselves successful in that way.
Fantastic. That's really great news to see those kids get involved, and then that gives them, maybe an additional interest. They would want to explore it more.
Yeah, we have a great relationship with Harrison. So exploring it more, that Harrison School of the Arts, they have all these music things that Mr. Bates does a great job with his program. Well, now we're starting to build in some of those technology sides because they have this whole technology track over there, and I'm really looking forward to over the next few years our students being successful in that world.
When I came here 4 years ago, there was only a couple students that would go to Harrison. Most of them would get blocked out. But last year, there was a ton of our kids. I remember just seeing the graduating eighth graders that were heading that direction. I shouldn't say a ton, but there was a whole bunch of kids from that group of whatever it was, 30-something kids or whatever graduated last year that were heading that direction.
Yeah.
The percentage was much higher than I'd seen when I remember first coming here. And that's the music program. And I think, now with the technology side of it, just an extra opportunity for kids to be able to explore something in high school to see if this is something that they would like to do for a career.
Yeah, we've been talking about the parable of the talents. This is that. This is kids investing in their talents. Parents, the amount of man hours that parents put in. I know you've got kids here who play, and so you understand parents put in a lot of man hours too.
Play and
practice.
I got a couple of kids that sit up there in the booth
That's
too.
right. That's right.
that help out from time to time.
That's right.
I just thought of something that I didn't mention with Nick. We didn't talk about, but maybe you could speak to it a little bit. Last time we did this, we talked about we were going to start a podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's done.
It's
up and
done.
running. In fact, we've got these trees behind us, which is part of the Christmas thing for the kids for Advent as they're filming in here. But we've put up, a little different wall here for a background. And Nick and I think you have been a guest as
helped
well.
out a little bit,
a little bit on that opportunity for podcasts. You tell me a little bit about how that's going.
It's going well. We did do a series as we went through Red Letter Challenge. Nick and I, Nick kind of drove it, and I helped out a little bit there. We put out this podcast. It's on our website. If you go to our website, stpaullakeland.org, and then down at the bottom with our services and the devotions, there's another area there for podcasts. So you can check them out. So Nick kind of guided us through the Red Letter Challenge with some podcasts there. You can go back. And then he also has been focusing, and I think this is something that he's working on kind of long term, is to bring in our ministry partners and give them kind of this long form dialogue options where they can talk through about what God's doing in their areas of ministry. So I know he's had Idols Aside Ministry, I believe, came in. I know that Melissa Lobozo with Lobo Ranch came in, and then I'm blanking on his name.
Tim.
Tim from Parker Street Ministries. And that was a really cool one. I got to get a sense of what was going on in that ministry. So it's nice.
I also know he interviewed one of our counselors.
Oh, good. I don't think
I think they did a 4-parter. I'm not sure if it's been released yet, but if not, it's coming out so soon, I know. So look to that and listen to those podcasts and have that opportunity to maybe learn something new about either our ministry partners, things that are going on around here, or even in our community. Also, just as you mentioned, again, one of the things that you do so many things, you've got your fingers on, you just redid the website.
Yeah.
So if you have not been to the website, same address, but it's been revamped and totally redone. So please make sure you head on over to the website and take a look at what's on there now. Anything else that you can think of that is jumping off your brain here all of a sudden
Yeah.
as we've been talking a little bit.
The next steps, right? So if as we are all praying together and putting our hands in what God's doing here at St. Paul, the next steps, just being praying for that. We've got some projects coming up where we're trying to take just this wonderful group of people we have and make sure we're training each other and celebrating God's victories. And but that training piece, we've got some things that have jumped out to us as we've asked the question, well, what can we work on next? And so just pray. And if you see something you want to work on, let me know, and I'll be happy to plug in.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you that God. Let me just do that. I thank God that God led you here just over a year ago, and a little bit more than that, and just how you have plugged in and how you continue to be such a blessing to St. Paul's ministry here at the school as well as the church.
Thanks.
So you and your wife, your whole family are a great blessing. So
It's been a blessing to be here.
Thanks very much again. All right. Well, I am going to wrap up the state of the church at this time with just a few things that I want to share with you as we continue to move our way forward and work in God's kingdom work where He has called us to be here in Lakeland, in Polk County, and even in the world. One of the things that I introduced in the last time that we gathered together, and you have now seen play out before your eyes, if you've been in worship or had the opportunity to view it online, is the addition of our ministry partners. This has been a great thing, and it's generated a lot of excitement. It's generated a lot of opportunities for us to serve, and it's given us an opportunity to pour into other ministries that are doing wonderful things. And so I just want to encourage you, we're going to keep these 5 ministries very much in front of you and going forward. As you heard, there'll be podcasts. We'll continue to have them come in and speak from time to time. You're going to see in the bulletin, as well as in just general announcements, opportunities for you to serve. So I just really want to encourage you to become involved and see where God leads this. He is continuing to touch people's lives, just not through the ministry here at St. Paul and the school, but through these ministry partners. So what a great encouragement to see how God is working in the larger church. That's the first thing. All right, next thing. Look, I know we are all having our own experiences as far as COVID-19. We have our own emotions, we have our own feelings, we have our own thoughts about masks and no masks. We have our own thoughts and our own feelings about the vaccine that's coming out. We have our own thoughts, we have our own feelings, about how do we go forward, whether we worship in person or whether we stay in our homes and worship online. And they're all okay. But I do really want to encourage you, because we are beginning to see more and more cracks in marriages. I'm getting calls. I'm hearing stories. And God wants us to have, if we're married, healthy marriages. We've seen some divorces, and that's always a sad thing. And so please, if you are married, make sure not only are you taking care of your relationship with God, you and God, but you're taking care of your relationship with you and your spouse, and then also with you and your children if you have children, and then all your other friends and relationships that you have. To address this, I have been working with a counselor in Tampa. And so in mid-February, she is going to come here, and we are going to have an opportunity to work through a book that she has written, through a program that she has developed. And the first piece of that is called The Love Story. And so I want to introduce that to you a little bit here during this time, because by the time we get to February, you're going to hear a whole lot more of that coming along. I really pray that you will join us if you are married, or if you're thinking about getting married, you and your fiance, to have that opportunity to be a part of having this professional counselor come on site and bring us through this first piece of it, and then we'll introduce the additional pieces as we move through. It's just going to, I believe, really be a blessing and a strengthening for our marriages in a very difficult time that we are going through. I would love to say we're going to hit 2021 and all this is going to disappear. It's not. We're going to be in the same kind of position that we're in into 2021. But I also believe that God will work through this, and I believe you know that as well. Let's keep our trust in Him. Let's keep looking towards Him, and He will continue to bring us through this. And actually, when we come through times where we have adversity, where we have challenges, that's where really we can see, very often when we look back, the greatest growth. Challenges and adversity do not have to destroy. It's actually things that can strengthen us and help us grow. And God is there in the midst. Don't forget that. And I will continue to try to remind you of that, as well as the rest of the staff here, each and every time we get together, whether it's in worship or through newsletters or however we communicate. All right, one more piece of information here. It is time. I have been here in the senior position now for about a year and a half. And in this time, we have been blessed to see a lot of people come on board as new members. During COVID, you got to understand how blessed we are. The last new member class was 72 people. What we don't want to do is experience all these wonderful people that God has brought coming into the door, okay, and then kind of being like they're on a Teflon sheet and sliding out the back door. We need to develop a way forward to actually look at getting ourselves some more pastoral help. It's time to talk about an associate pastor. And so that's one of the things that we are going to start a conversation on. I'll be meeting with the core staff after Christmas, a little bit before Christmas. We've already got one meeting scheduled where we're going to take a look at the ministry as a whole and kind of think where God might be leading that. Now, we're not going to do this in a vacuum. This is just not the core staff, okay? But we want to start looking at it as a core and what we think we see from our position. Then we're going to take that to the board of trustees and share that with them, get some input from them. And we are also, and it's not that you're last, not at all, okay? But then we want to take it to the congregation. And we want to see what you see and what you are sensing. And so we want you to pray about that because we want to get the right person. We just don't want to go out and hire an associate pastor, okay? We want to find out really what kind of person we want and what God is leading us to for their gifts so that we get the right person in the position for associate pastor. And so we'll be starting to have these conversations over between now and the next time that we gather in about 3 months to have that opportunity to discuss it more and move forward to see where God is leading us as calling an associate pastor. Now, in saying that, look, we have some issues that we have to deal with, of course. Finances are one of them. We still have a loan on a building here, and it's a sizable loan, but that does not mean that we cannot find a way to fund that position, okay? That's part of walking in faith, and it's also going to be, I believe, a blessing to have that associate pastor on board. So we don't go forward in fear. We go forward carefully, prayerfully, talking things through, and seeing where God leads us. We talk about it, God leads. And he leads very often, not just through prayer, but by discernment of the Holy Spirit as we come together in conversations about this. So I am really excited about having these conversations and going forward and seeing where God is going to take St. Paul as a ministry next. All right? So look, you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, a wonderful Christmas holiday season. Look forward to seeing as many of you as possible. Make sure you sign up online for the Christmas services, okay? Those Christmas Eve services, very important that we get accurate numbers because we're only opening up so many seats. So again, make sure that you sign up either online or when you come into church. There's a place for you to sign up there at the Welcome Center, or you can call the office and they can write down your name and how many people. And when the service is full, that service then is closed. All right? So please make sure you do that. We don't want to close anyone out if possible. Give everybody an opportunity to worship as much as we are able to do during this time of COVID, and as comfortable as you are in coming in, whether it's watching it online, coming to the mandatory mask service at 12 o'clock, or one of the other services where masks aren't required, at least at this point, but strongly encouraged and suggested. All of them keeping social distance, and all of us being blessed as we come together to worship our newborn King. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at any time via email. You can call me on my cell or text me or stop into the office. But just let me know. The more that we communicate, the less misunderstandings that we have, and the better that we all are in walking together with the Lord. So God's blessings, and have a wonderful evening.